Welcome back to my dining room table build. My name's Guy, and I'm going to show you how I made these panels. There's two of these and then one shorter one. It's about 18 inches wide. That's going to be the leaf itself. This is all shop sawn veneer. This is walnut on one side, ash on the other, on 3/4 inch Baltic birch plywood. So I'm going to show you how I cut the shop sawn veneer, and I'm also going to show you how I used a vacuum bag to veneer this to the substrate. It was a heck of a lot of fun. I've never really done it before, and it was a good learning experience. So let me show you how I made these. Well, this is the material that I'm going to be using to cut the veneer from. This is ash. This is about 5/4. This is a little bit better than 8/4 walnut. And I got the ash locally here from a woodworking friend of mine named Adam. Adam, if you're watching, thank you very much. This is really going to help me out. The ash is going to go underneath the plywood substrate, and the walnut's going to go on top. I've already started cutting some veneer, and this is what I'm looking for. This is about 3/32 of an inch, give or take. This is the material that I milled up before, and what these marks are, these represent the reference faces that I'm always going to go back to. This is the side that's always going to go against the table of the bandsaw, and this is going to go against the fence. Let me go over to the bandsaw and I'll show you how I have that set up to cut this veneer. Well, here's what I've got. I've got a 3/4 inch blade on here, and this is a wood slicer blade. It's still pretty sharp. I've used it one time before to cut some veneer, and it's really important that the fence is perfectly 90 and the blade is perfectly 90, because you don't want some very huge variations in the top and bottom of the thickness of those veneers. It's also set 1/8 of an inch away from the outside of the teeth of this. Now I know this blade is around 1/32 of an inch, so that'll give me about 3/32 of an inch left over. So all I need to do is fire this up, push the material through, keeping it close to this fence, and I'll get a nice straight cut on that veneer. This is what I have. This is ash, walnut, secondary, primary, and this is more than enough to do both the bottom and the top of the table. The next step is to go over my drum sander and spend a lot of time getting this down to that 1/16 of an inch thick. I've got more than enough, but I wanted to give myself some variety, especially on the top. Well, after a couple hours with the drum sander, it's about what I figured it was going to take. I'm down to 3/64 of an inch, which is okay. I want to be 1/16 of an inch, but it's close enough. I just need to separate these things and figure out which ones are going to go where on the tabletop. Well, for each side of the table, I'm going to need 5 pieces of this, and I have plenty, and these are the ones I picked out. This is going to be one half, this is going to be the other half, and there's going to be a leaf in the middle. I still have yet to pick those out. But what I want to do now is just take my chalk, as carefully as I can anyways, put a triangle on both of these, and then I'll be able to sequence them later. Well, this is a substrate that's actually for the extension, and the extension is going to be, or the middle leaf is going to be 18 inches wide at a finished width. So actually what I have here is it's 17 inches wide, and I've got some 1-inch walnut strips that are going to be glued onto the edges of these. This is so I don't see the plywood from the ends when it's finished. This is going to give me a finish depth of 19 inches. After I put the laminates down on top of this, this will give me a finished width of 18 inches, because I will cut something off of here. So what I need to do now is I need to glue these strips to this substrate. Well, these are the 3 pieces that I'll be using for the middle leaf of the table, and you notice there is some bark inclusions on this, and actually I like them. I started to search high and low through my wood stack for boards that were perfectly clear before I started cutting the veneer. And to be honest with you, I thought about it for a while, and the table's so large at 8 feet fully expanded that I think the bark inclusions are going to break up the monotony of that large field, and it's going to add a little bit of visual detail. Anyways, so I know my substrate for this is 19 inches wide. I'm going to be actually down to 18 inches. So I need to make this 18.5 inches because I have to have a little bit of overhang on each side. So this is 22.5. So what I'm going to do first though is I'm going to take these and I need to joint an edge. Now even though these are only a 1/16 of an inch thick or a little bit less, they're still boards and I still need to make sure I get a good glue line on here. Now these were jointed and all that, but still I want to make sure that I got a nice glue line here. So what I'm going to do is I've got a small caul, and all this is a couple pieces of plywood with a couple bolts in them, and I can take these, stack them up, these will go inside here. I just tighten these down. I don't really want to tighten it too much, just enough to hold them in place and keep them even on the bottom. And once I do that, I'll be able to run them through the joiner and make a nice flat edge on the bottom. So I think you see how that's going to work right there. So let me take this over to the joiner and do that operation. I'm going to cut this, and even though this is a board, it's still very, very thin, so I don't want my blade up very high. I've also added this auxiliary fence, and it's just double stick taped onto my regular fence. That's so this doesn't slip underneath. So I've made the measurements, and this piece needs to be 4 3/4 inches, and I'll just cut that now. Getting ready to cut these to length. I've got a piece of MDF here, and that's just to help prevent these things from splintering when I cut them. Plus it's going to hold them nice and flat. Got a nice flat work surface here. I've got my boards laid out, and I'm going to do something I've never done before, which is vacuum press this veneer. Don't have a lot of experience with it. Typically when I've done veneer in the past, I've used much thicker veneer, at about 1/8 of an inch thick. I've just used PVA glues, a couple melamine sheets, and some cauls, and clamped it all up and called it a day. It took a long time to dry. I'd have to wait at least a couple days for it to dry completely. So I bit the bullet and bought a vacuum bag. Again, this is all new to me, so I read a lot on it, especially at veneersupplies.com. They give a lot of very good tutorials. Also, there's another YouTube woodworker out there, Andy Pitts. Highly recommend watching some of his videos. He does some great veneer work, so I'm going to do things based on their recommendations. And one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to use veneer tape on this, even though it's solid wood. So I just want to get one of these very close together. I've got a little sponge here and some pieces of veneer tape, and I'm just going to butt those up and nice and tight, pull and close those across. I'm going to go all the way up, and then I'll put one strip down like this. The reason I'm using veneer tape is because as it dries, it shrinks, and it will help close those joints up even further. I've got the veneer tape on, and let me flip this over here. Be very careful with it. As you can see, all the joints are really super nice and tight. I'm going to let this dry for a half hour, maybe 45 minutes or so, and that'll give some additional time for the glue on the substrate to dry, and then we will veneer this to that substrate. Okay, I'm ready to do this. I've got the substrate out. I made sure it's nice and flat all the way across. I've also got my vacuum bag with a steady surface underneath, and then inside the bag already I've got a platen, which will make sure everything stays flat. What I'm mixing up here is a pre-catalyzed resin glue. Comes in a bucket. I just mix it with water in the specified amount. And since the first time I've done this, I'm really not quite sure how much to make, so I'm just going to wing it. And I'm going to spread some out on here. I've got a special roller. And I'm applying glue just to the substrate itself, not to the veneer. Okay, it looks like I've got pretty good coverage on there. So I'm just going to take my veneer, I'm going to place it on here, and I'm going to hold it back about 1/4 of an inch from each edge. I'm going to try to keep that as straight as possible on one of the edges. That's going to make it easier to cut later. Now that I've got that on there, I'm going to open my bag. I'm going to slide this in. I want to make sure that this nozzle, this air nozzle here, is about half on, half off of that. Now I've got some mesh netting that will go in here. Now I've got that all in place, I need to put the sealing pipe on the back. And I'm going to attach this nozzle to this little barb fitting here. Well, this is the vacuum unit I made. It actually uses a Venturi, and along with my air compressor to evacuate air out of the bag. What I'm looking for is about 20 pounds or so of mercury to be pulled out of here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it on, open this up. That's going to slowly start drawing air out of the bag. So I've got all the air evacuated out of this bag, and it's at 20 pounds of mercury. I think this is around 12 pounds per square inch or something like that. Any way you look at it, it's a tremendous amount of force being put down on here, and it's a hell of a lot easier than, again, trying to wrangle big sheets of melamine and clamps and do it all in a quick manner. One thing though, my shop right now, it's about 60 degrees in here. The manufacturer recommends that this is 70 degrees, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an electric blanket on here and leave it on there for about 3 hours. When that's done, I'll take it out of the clamp or out of the vacuum bag, and we'll see how it turns out. Well, that's it for now, and I hope you found this information useful. If you want more information on this, go to veneersupplies.com. You can also go to Andy Pitt's channel. I'll leave a link to his channel down below. He does a ton of work with veneer, and he does a really good job. I learned quite a bit from watching him. So, as always, thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, please leave a comment below, and please subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you later.